Almost every country in the world is in debt. The United States has now passed $38 trillion in debt, the highest in its history. The European Union carries around $14 trillion, and Japan nearly $9 trillion. Even oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia and export giants like Germany and China are heavily in debt. But here's the real question. If everyone is in debt, who's getting paid? This is where it gets interesting. This is where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is as simple as it looks. Debt isn't just a burden. It's actually the foundation of the modern world. Wars, crises, economic booms, all of them are built on this invisible system of debt. And if you follow the chain long enough, you realize something strange. The world doesn't really owe money to someone else. It owes it to itself. But that doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. Today, the world is drowning in over $315 trillion of total debt. That's about 3 times the size of the global economy. So how did we get here? We have to go back centuries. Long before credit cards or digital payments, national debt was born in war. In 1694, England was at war with France and running out of money. The king turned to merchants for help. In exchange, he promised them interest payments backed by future taxes. And that's how the Bank of England was created. This changed everything. The government could now spend money it didn't have yet. And in return, investors received a promise from the state. And that promise could be bought and sold. That's how government bonds were born. So what happened next? France adopted it. The Netherlands improved it. The United States used it to fund its independence and expansion. And something shifted. Debt was no longer weakness. It became a sign of power. If a country could borrow, it was strong. Empires used to fight for gold. Now they borrow for interest. Even the battlefield changed. It became a balance sheet. Fast forward to today. Debt has become the system itself. The US owes $38 trillion. Japan owes $9 trillion. And the world adds another $1 trillion of debt every 100 days. Everyone owes. Everyone lends. And whether you realize it or not, everyone is both a debtor and a creditor. So who owes who? Let's take the United States. About half of its $38 trillion debt is held by investors. And most of those investors are American. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, mutual funds. A portion is held by foreign countries. Japan is the biggest holder, followed by China. But here's the key point. Most of America's debt is owed to itself. Here's how the system works. The government issues bonds, banks buy them, the central bank buys them back and creates money. People pay taxes, that money flows back into pensions and funds. It's a loop. The debt is real, but the creditor is inside the same system. And this isn't just America, it's global. Japan lends to the US. The US lends to Europe. Europe lends to developing countries. Those countries invest back into major economies. It's basically a global cycle. Everyone is lending to everyone. But there's a deeper layer, the markets. Hedge funds, central banks, massive institutions. They decide who gets cheap money and who struggles. When confidence disappears, currencies collapse, governments fall, economies break. Democracy decides who gets elected. Markets decide who survives. And then there are central banks. They don't just manage the system, they create money. When they buy bonds, they literally create new money. So here's the truth. There is no such thing as debt-free money. Every dollar you hold is someone else's liability. This entire system runs on one thing, trust. As long as people believe governments will keep paying interest, the system keeps going. But if that trust breaks, we've seen it before. Greece, Argentina, Sri Lanka. The system collapses fast. And here's the most important part. In the modern world, debt isn't meant to be paid off. It's meant to be rolled over. Governments don't actually plan to eliminate their debt. They take new debt to pay old debt. This is called refinancing. The US will never fully pay off its debt. Japan has been rolling its debt for decades because this debt is actually the foundation of the system. It's a safe asset for banks, an investment for funds, money for central banks. So, what happens if all debt is paid off? Money supply shrinks, the economy contracts, the system collapses. Ironically, without debt, there is no economy. But there's a darker side. We owe it to ourselves isn't completely true because interest doesn't flow equally. Money moves upward, from workers to investors. So debt isn't just between countries, it's also between classes. In the end, governments create debt, banks multiply it, investors profit, citizens live inside it. And now the line between debtor and creditor is blurred. But if trust ever breaks, everything stops. And then we remember what debt really is, a promise that can't be kept forever.